Greetings. This information was compiled for the IRS Reddit community and anyone interested in forced sterilization settlements in the United States. The IRS recently issued frequently asked questions on state compensation payments for forced sterilization. The Internal Revenue Service issued frequently asked questions, FAQs, to guide victims who have received state compensation payments for forced, involuntary, or coerced sterilization in Fact Sheet FS 2023-11. Some states have enacted legislation to compensate victims of forced sterilization under state programs. These states have made payments to those victims according to the legislation. Forced sterilization is the involuntary or coerced removal of a person's reproduction ability. Forced sterilization is a human rights violation and can constitute an act of genocide, gender-based violence, discrimination, and torture. Conservative estimates indicate that state-sponsored sterilization efforts have claimed at least 65,000 people, predominantly in southern states. In 1927, the conservative U.S. Supreme Court, overseen by former President William Taft, decided, by a vote of 8-1, to uphold a state's right to sterilize a person considered unfit to procreate forcibly. The case, known as Buck v. Bell, centered on a young woman named Carrie Buck, whom the state of Virginia had deemed to be feeble-minded. In North Carolina, which had the most aggressive eugenics program out of the 32 states during the 45-year reign of the North Carolina Eugenics Board, from 1929 to 1974, a disproportionate number of those who were targeted for forced or coerced sterilization were black and female, with almost all being poor. In 1972, United States Senate committee testimony revealed that at least 2,000 involuntary sterilizations had been performed without their consent or knowledge. An estimated 40% of Native American women and 10% of Native American men in the United States underwent sterilization in the 1970s. Native American women and activists mobilized in the 1970s across the United States to combat the coerced sterilization of Native American women and advocate for their reproductive rights, alongside tribal sovereignty, in the Red Power movement. The 1970s brought new federal legislation enacted by the United States government, which addressed informed consent, sterilization, and the treatment of Native American children. The 1978 Federal Sterilization Regulations, created by the United States Department of Health, Education and Welfare or HEW, outline various prohibited sterilization practices often used previously to coerce or force poor, marginalized minority women into sterilization. In 2013, it was reported that 148 female prisoners in 2 California prisons were sterilized between 2006 and 2010 in a supposedly voluntary program. Still, it was determined that the prisoners did not consent to the procedures. In September 2014, California enacted Bill SB 1135, which bans sterilization in correctional facilities unless the procedure is required to save an inmate's life. Georgia Immigration Detention Center 2020. In Georgia, there was a sudden spike within the United States in 2020. Reports show illegal hysterectomies were performed in Georgia on immigrants at U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement's Irwin County Center. Dr. Mahendra Amin, who performed the unnecessary hysterectomies, believes the women do not have as much knowledge or authority over themselves due to the women being immigrants. In 2016, President Obama signed the Treatment of Certain Payments in Eugenics Compensation Act into law, which assists victims of state-sponsored eugenics programs by exempting all payments received from state eugenics compensation programs from being considered income when determining eligibility for federal benefits and passed with 100% backing.